Okay, hello and welcome to Developer Sync on Monday, the 15th of June. Where does the time go? I'm Jim, I'm the head of ecosystem at Autonomys. Emil, do you want to tell us who you are?
Yeah, of course. I'm Emil. I'm community lead at Autonomous. So yeah, happy to be back at Developer Sync.
But also very much a developer and engineering background, both of us actually. So you may notice that we are a man down today. Unfortunately, Ved's feeling a little under the weather. Hopefully we'll have him back for the next ones. So don't worry, don't panic about that. Okay, let's go straight into community updates. So hot topics, we've got a couple actually. Okay, so as many of you know, there was a release of the Sea Alliance Space Acres last week. And there have been some community members who have been experiencing an issue. So if you are on the release from last week, which would be June 08, and you see something like S bucket or invalid scalar in your logs, what you need to do is update to the build that was produced yesterday. So that will be the June 14th build. And there is an accompanying Space Acres 0.2.21. So yeah, please let us know if you're having any issues. Thanks to the community members who reported it straight away. That's, that feedback is absolutely invaluable. That's how we're able to jump on these issues so quickly and get a fix out. I was going to press Ved for a little bit of an explanation in what happened, but maybe we'll save that for next time. There has also been just a single report so far, but a report on Space Acres not syncing. I checked out the logs that were provided, but they're not giving us too many clues. It looks like you've got peers, but your sync isn't advancing. We probably want some more logs. I'll get back to you in Discord, or Ved will, one of us will. Okay, moving on. So autonomous helpers, some may be aware that we have an autonomous helpers application, which is part of the autonomous community organization on GitHub. It's actually just been rebranded. Well, so this was produced as kind of a quick and dirty dev tool originally to monitor the channels, the XDM channels during the Crossing the Narrow Sea initiative. That has actually evolved. I'm going to talk a little bit more about this in a bit, but first of all, I want to let you know that a wrapping tool, so wrapping your AI3 on Auto EVM to an ERC20 representation, a tool has been added, and it's also been rebranded from Autonomous Helpers to Subspace Tools. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a little while. What else has been going on? We have been prepping for unlocks, as many of you know. If you look on subspace.foundation/tokenomics, you know that there is a 12-month post-TGE unlock coming. So we've been in the background moving some tokens around. There is an explanation of the wallet movements in the official wallet forum post, which I will add a link down below to. And yeah, the tokens have been moved onto Auto EVM in preparation of being added to the Hedgie unlock contracts. So that's all going to be happening soon. If anyone has got any questions about what's going on there, please do find me and let me know. Speaking of which, actually, the Guardians of Growth Vault. So some of you, actually, I haven't seen it mentioned anywhere, but some of you may have noticed that the Guardians of Growth Vault unstaked the operators 2 and 3 last week, which was always part of our problem. We're going to put a post out explaining this soon. Our promise was always that that anything earned by our bootstrapping those new operators would be recycled back into the program, and we're going to let you know what that looks like soon. And actually accompanying that, there's going to be a refreshed staking guide. Our one's a little bit long in the tooth now, and as many of you know, we've got a lovely staking.autonomous.xyz, which is a much nicer experience than using the Substrate portal. One thing that I do want to point out is we did have an issue with the operator reward distributor communicating with the RPC. Again, I was going to ask Fed for the exact details, but my understanding is that it lost connectivity to the RPC. So an eagle-eyed community member did spot that, but our internal monitoring had already raised it. We were just waiting for the APY stats to catch up. Quite rightly queried it with us. Again, thanks. We appreciate the diligence there. Something else that dropped last week is we have a collaboration with Secret Network. There's an agent out there, link will be down below, which uses secret VM TEE environments for inference and uses autonomous auto drive storage for its memories. So trusted execute in the TEE and then permanent verifiable storage for its memories. It's quite a heady mix. There are some posts, again, I'll pop the link down below if you want to read up on that. It got picked up by a few news outlets actually, which is interesting. And then, okay, so something that I did last week is I attended a roundtable with 4AI, which has been chopped up into shorts. And that reminded me that we haven't really publicized this to the community, which is Macy has been chopping up some of the recent content that we've been creating and putting shorts out on Twitter, on X. So if you're interested in finding those, check out at AutonomousNet. That's our Twitter handle, our X handle. So ones to look out for. So there's a set from the guy who is executing on the Memento grant, talking about the philosophy behind the application and kind of, the synergy between Autonomous and the vision for the app there. There was also a chat with Spoon OS not so long back about agents giving our time back as we move from kind of, chatbot to agency. Which was very interesting. There's some great shorts there. It might even entice you to listen to the whole thing. And then, yeah, last week, the roundtable with 4AI was mainly about why AI infrastructure is critical, which, of course, is very much top of mind for us. Okay, I think that is it for community updates this week. So we can probably move into the next item on the agenda, which is auto drive reliability. This is something that you've been working on, isn't it, Emil?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm happy to describe what we've been working on and how it affected the auto drive reliability and resilience. Yeah, I will try to keep it kind of well balanced between going kind of into technical bits, but without going too deep, so that it's still kind of human digestible and understandable. But if you want me to go a little bit deeper next time, please leave a comment, and we're happy to kind of go into more kind of bits and pieces of what's been introduced. So as I mentioned, over the past month, we've put a lot of focus into the reliability and resilience of AutoDrive, and the guiding principle has been simple. Every single file that's uploaded should be permanently and verifiably archived on the blockchain, and it should always come back to you whenever kind of user asks for it. So we've spent this time reinforcing the system at every layer to make those guarantees even stronger and more durable. A lot of work went into the archiving side of things. We tightened the way the files are confirmed as stored, so that a file is only ever counted as archived once the blockchain has truly and durably committed it, and adding an extra margin of safety so that what we consider permanently stored really is permanent, even under unusual network conditions. A good example is how we now handle chain reworks. The moments when the network briefly settles on one version of recent history, and then a few blocks later agrees on a slightly different one is canonical. When that happens, data that looked like it had landed in one block can end up living in another. Since our system records a pointer to exactly where each file's data sits on chain, that pointer needs to follow the data as it moves. So instead of treating a file as final at the moment it first appears in block, we now wait until the network has built several more blocks on top. and confirm the data has settled in its final place. And if a rework shifts in the meantime, we automatically detect that and update the pointer to the correct location. Our record of where every file lives now stays perfectly in sync with chain, even through this natural reshuffling. We also introduced an automated reconciliation process. You can think of it as the continuous safety net that constantly sweeps the system, looks for any file that hasn't yet made it all the way through archiving, and gently nudges it the rest of the way to completion. This means that the platform is now self-healing. If it doesn't just rely on everything going perfectly the first time. It actively double checks its own work and finishes anything still in progress. On top of that, we made the archiving pipeline more robust so that it handles unusual or incomplete files gracefully and keeps everything else flowing smoothly rather than letting one odd case slow things down. On the retrieval side, we made downloads and previews more dependable, especially for compressed files, so that content comes back quickly and correctly, whether it's being sourced from our fast caching layer or pulled directly from the decentralized storage network. We also improved the system visibility into itself, so we can spot and act on anything unusual before, kind of faster than before. The result of all of this is a platform that's noticeably more trustworthy from end to end. Files are archived with stronger guarantees. The system continuously verifies and completes its own archiving in the background, and everything that goes in reliably comes back out. It's no, it's a kind of work that's largely invisible when it's done well, and that's exactly the point. It means people can keep trusting AutoDrive with their data without having to think about what's happening under the hood.
Thanks, Emil. Yeah, not the most glamorous of things, is it? Reliability, resilience. But yeah, you can check out the repo. You'll see all the activity from Emil in there. And something that, one of the catalysts for this work, of course, is the increased usage we're seeing. So if you check our EOM stats, you'll see the usage by humans, agents, partners. The file count is going in the right direction. Not as high as we'd like, but it's going in the right direction. So that usage is what allows us to surface and attend to some of these issues. But yeah, we're in a great place. A self-healing network. I love it. Okay, thank you, Emil. Right, so I'm gonna, as usual, do something dangerous. I'm gonna do a little demo, but before I do that, I do want to quickly talk about. Let's see, swap that for that. Okay, so before we get into a demo, I just want to talk quickly about something that's been out for about a month, I think now, but we had too much in the last dev sync to kind of really hook into it. So S3 compatibility. So if anyone who doesn't know, S3 is like a kind of a file storage standard championed by Amazon, by AWS. Lots of really serious people use S3 interface to store their data, not even necessarily on a centralized provider, as you'll find out. But it's kind of a really strong industry standard. So this is about AutoDrive is becoming like a more mature product, and this is taking that storage, that permanent, verifiable, immutable storage, to the places where users are. So one of the things that we wanted to do for a while was improve what we had. We did have a very basic one in place, which was fine. But there's an opportunity that we can integrate with more platforms if we support S3 standards. So specifically, what kind of things do we do? So I'm not going to go too deep. This forum post kind of tackles it in a greater depth. And if anyone wants to talk about the real nuts and bolts of exactly how to hook up an integration to the storage via S3, come and find us. Discord's probably one of the quickest places. Reply on the forum post. We'll see your alerts. Okay, so first class bucket support. So originally we kind of faked this. Basically, there was just a single top level bucket, and we didn't really support it. So if you'd have asked us for a list of buckets through RS3 integration, for example, it would have just thrown an error. It would have said, I don't know what you're talking about. So now we have buckets, and you're able to ask about buckets. So buckets are like, if you like, S3 folders, top level folders specifically. If you have files already stored on Auto Drive, they've actually been auto migrated into a bucket called default. So you can still access those via S3, but going forward, you can separate out your buckets. And then if buckets are the top level folders, underneath those, you can have subfolders, which is kind of, they're actually virtual folders, but this is where list objects v2. So if buckets is about supporting folders, then list objects is about being able to search those folders. So yeah, I guess that like make dir, remove dir would be buckets, and then searching for files within those is list objects. It's kind of like a common standard, or sorry, it's the standard interface that S3 integrated apps use to find files, page files. As you can see, there's a bunch of different parameters you can pass into that feature. And as it says, the request shape used by virtually every S3 client. So we adopted V2. We don't actually support V1. If anyone needs V1, let us know, because it should be pretty trivial to add it. Moving on, MD5 tags. So this one is a bit technical. When you put an object onto Auto Drive, previously we return the network content identifier, the CID, as the in the MD5 tag. Now, AWS standards actually specify that should be an MD5 hash of the file. So the idea is, of course, that you push your file to the storage, and then you get a hash back to verify that it landed correctly. So we've adopted that, and again, that's about integrations. Applications that integrate with S3 expect that to verify that the upload worked fine. So very technical, but again, more standard support. And then explicit 403 forbidden. Okay, so what's going on there is, so obviously once you place a file on Auto Drive, you can't delete it. Our storage is permanent. You can't do things like move or sync, because they imply that you're able to update files, remove files, move files around. So previously that would have just wasn't supported. I don't think it blew up, but I think it might have just given a generic 400. And what we've got now is a proper support. So a message comes back and says, hey, you're trying to delete a file on permanent storage. It won't work. So you get a more appropriate error code, and you get a really explicit error message to explain what's going on to the user. So rather than a cryptic, hey, it's not worked, now you're told exactly what's going on. And then finally, it's kind of the point at the bottom there, is the things like handling list objects results. There's any common components that might be useful for anyone who wants to build using S3 and Auto Drive. We've put into the Auto SDK. There wasn't a huge amount, but again, we want to make the use of this feature as frictionless as possible. So we did pull those out into the file server, as you can see there, SDK package. Yeah, and if you want to go deeper, you can get right into it here. It's a bit more technical. I think there is, well, I know there is a slightly friendlier blog post that went out as well. But yeah, if you've got any questions about using S3 to access Auto Drive storage, please do let us know, and we will get back to you as quickly as possible. Okay, Just check, no questions about S3. Okay, good. Right, so subspace tools. I said I'd come back here. Okay, so we have, as I mentioned, Autonomous Helpers was created a while ago, just to kind of monitor channel XDM channel activity for crossing the narrow sea. Um, and it's kind of grown since then. You know, we've needed to enhance it ourselves, to kind of you know, to have tooling available for our own operations. So first of all, you'll notice that Autonomous Helpers is now called Subspace Tools. It's hosted on a domain here. And I just want to touch on some things. So here's kind of the original channel status. Some of you who participated in crossing the narrow sea will recognize this as being the way that you can monitor activity across XDM channels. But we've also added now the ability to trigger XDMs directly. So let's just do a quick demo here. So I've kind of prepared something here, obviously, as I normally do. So we're going to do a mainnet transfer. We're going to go consensus to auto EVM. Bear in mind that a consensus to auto EVM takes about 10 minutes. Auto EVM back to consensus, domain back to consensus takes about 24 hours. It's actually 14,400 blocks. So I've actually already connected the wallet there, which is my test wallet, and I'm going to grab an EVM wallet because we're going to auto EVM. And let's do 5 tokens, and we're going to send a transfer. We get to review the transaction. So if anyone's not sure what XDM is, check out the docs. It's basically how we communicate between consensus and domains. And we're going to confirm and send. And of course, I'm going to need to agree that I want to sign that, which I've done. Okay, and actually this is handy. Okay, so what we've done is we've submitted the XDM, and to give you an idea of how this previously works, basically you'd have to go and use if you want to use Auto SDK and kind of make your own application, you'd actually have to go on the Substrate portal and submit the transaction there. You know, we've got feedback that that was super awkward. You know, we were aware of that, but this is not something that you know, we need to make sure that the network works before we get all these frilly bits. Okay, so what you can see is we just submitted, sorry, the XDM. It's come from this consensus wallet, and it's going to land on this EVM wallet. This is my test wallet, so as you can see, there's loads of activity all over it. This is actually part of a wider tool here that you can use to search for different transactions. So you can find, like if I want to find all the transactions involving this EVM wallet, we can click on that there. We get our lovely little status update here. So as I mentioned, it's 100 blocks. 6-second blocks means it's around 10 minutes. And what happens is once the progress bar hits the end, you'll have the 5 AI3 available on Auto EVM. So what I've actually done there is I've taken native consensus AI3 that you might earn by farming, and taking it over to Auto EVM, where you can do, you know, where you can use it to power applications, your own applications, for example, your own dApps. You can wrap it as WAI3, sorry, so it's an ERC20. So yeah, I think that covers it, doesn't it? So you can send, you can view transfers, you can send both ways, of course, and you can send and receive on Kronos as well. So here you can switch. Obviously, if you're coming back from Auto EVM, you're going to need to connect your EVM wallet and make sure that you put a consensus address in here. You can use the substrate address, or you can use the subspace representation. Okay, so speaking of ERC20, something else that we have here, we've got some boilerplate explaining all this. I'll let you read it if you're interested. But if you need an ERC20 version of the token, or you need to interact with it, and you want to either wrap it. So we start with AI3, native gas AI3, the gas token on Auto EVM, and we're going to wrap it into wrapped AI3, which is called WAI3. We nicked the idea from Ethereum, of course, who basically use exactly the same way of doing things. So first of all, we're going to connect our EVM wallet again, and let's wrap some. So you can see I've got some native AI3 here, and you can see I've already got some wrapped AI3, but let's just wrap another 5. Okay, so I just double check. I'm happy with all this. It's 5 AI3, and I'm going to get 5 wrapped AI3. And I am asked if I'd like to confirm, and I'm happy. And then hopefully quite quickly today, we will see our balance update. And there we go. Okay, so we're just reading the RPC, and I've gone from 5 AI3 to 9. And if we want to bring some back, we can quickly do that as well. Let's bring 2 back. So hopefully we'll go from 9 to 7. And yeah, so obviously this is a lot nicer experience than using the Substrate portal, which is well documented, but it's just quite awkward and quite scary. Actually, was the feedback that we've had as well. This is a community application, as you see at the bottom. You know, we want contributions, so if you are able, feel free to raise a PR into the application or raise an issue. Let us know what features you'd like to see. But yeah, we will provide some docs updates, I think, around subspace tools shortly. We'll put some updates around that. Almost a perfect demo there. Excellent. Didn't even have any dead air while I was waiting for transactions. We haven't got any questions or comments. And unfortunately, we are a man down today. So, Emil, is there anything you want to say before we wrap up?
No, nothing new to report on my end.
Okay. Right, I will just end it then with a reiteration that there are 2 new builds out that came out yesterday, in case you missed them. So you want the June 14th Subspace CLI client, and you want the Space Acres 0.2.21 versions, especially if you're having issues and getting errors about S buckets and scalars. You can always come and find us in Discord, and we'll get you set on the right track. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next time.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. See you next time.